Hey, what's up? This is Professor Wergeles. I'm creating a video for Windows users. This will be a replacement for my video number 2 in my EC2 video series. We're going to connect to our instance via Putty. You'll want to watch my prerequisite video, so you'll want to make sure that you have created your instance and set up your security group properly. For Windows users, the only video that's going to be different is the number 2 video, which is connecting to your instance. After you have connected to your instance, then you can follow the regular video series. I'll have 2 videos. We'll connect to our instance via Putty, and in my next Windows video, we'll also connect to our instance via Git Bash. So for this video, you want to have downloaded Putty. It's a particular one, so if you do Putty download in your browser, make sure you go to putty.org, and here you'll see download Putty. Okay, here's the latest release. You want to pick which Windows version you have, either a 32-bit or a 64. You can Google to see how you determine which one you have. Most likely you're going to have a 64-bit. But make sure you get the right one. After you have downloaded it and installed it, you'll see it in your start bar. So if I come over here to my start bar, I scroll down, you'll see Putty has been installed. You can open this up. It has quite a few different programs. The ones that we'll be using today are Putty and also PuttyGen. You can just type PuttyGen in here and it should pop up. Okay, but first we'll be looking in Putty. Yeah, I'll just close that so we don't get distracted. First we'll be looking in Putty. You're going to want to have your EC2 management console pulled up. This has a lot of valuable information like your public DNS. It shows you a sample SSH command, even though this isn't very useful to you. It does tell you what your username is, which will be very useful. So here I can copy this and paste it into my host name. Okay, sometimes when you paste, so you just scroll over, make sure you got your EC2-user in the front with your @ symbol. And in order to have my key pair file here, I need to click the SSH, open it up, and click on the AUTH. AUTH is for authentication. Here you'll see that I can add my private key file for authentication. So you want to browse and look for that key pair file. This also shows you what your key pair file's name is. Okay, it's a .pim file by default. So here when I go to my desktop, or you go to the location where that file is stored, you're not going to be able to see it. So you want to click here and click on all files. So here's my key pair. I'll click on it, open it up. I'll come back to my session and go ahead and click open. You're going to see the server you're connecting for the first time. Putty's not sure about the fingerprint. It wants to make sure you want to continue. We'll click yes. And here you'll see some error. So it says disconnected, no supported authentication methods available. And it's saying something's wrong with our key. So that's where we need PuttyGen. You see here this is PIM format. And Putty needs PPK format. So I need PuttyGen in order to change that key format. And if you don't have PuttyGen, then you might have downloaded the wrong version. I know a lot of students who have Putty installed, but they don't have all the programs. So make sure you go to the right one, which was putty.org, and make sure you download the right one. So once I have PuttyGen open, I'm going to click on load. I'm going to go to where my key pair file is. I need to make sure that I view all the files. Here's my PIM file. I'm going to open it. And we've successfully opened it. So we'll click on OK. Make sure you have these parameters. So you have RSA. You can also come up here. Make sure you have SSH-2 RSA key selected. We'll save the private key. It says, are you sure you want to save this key without a passphrase to protect it? Yes, we don't need a passphrase. And then what I usually do is I name it the same name. and you'll see here it's going to save it as a PPK. So it's not going to override your original file. Make sure you keep that original file. Otherwise, you're going to have problems later down the road. I usually save it to the cloud. Okay, so I'll save my new PPK file in the same location. And now I'm done with PuttyGen. So I can close PuttyGen, come back to Putty. It's crashed, so I have to close it, reopen it. Okay, so I'll open up Putty. I will paste that host name in again. Okay, so copy that host name, EC2-user at, then your public DNS. Okay, you have to bear with me. I'm a Mac user, and it's kind of weird to use Windows. I will browse for that new PPK file, which here it is. Now it shows up without having to change that. So I'll select the PPK file, and now a PPK file is a Putty private key. It's developed by Putty, and they serve as storage for private keys that the program created. These files are usually used to enable communication securely with another party having the corresponding public key. And we're going to use it to connect to our server instead of having a password. So after I add my PPK, instead of clicking open, come back up here to session. What you're going to want to do is store this session. So maybe I'll store it as CS2830. Click save here. Now it's saved down here. So instead of having to copy and paste that host name each time, I'll just go ahead and double click and it'll open on my server. Here you can see the EC2 logo. You can also see here in Putty that I'm on my EC2 instance because it says EC2 user at blah 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 IP. Okay, so now we're on my server. If I close Putty, open it back up, I've saved the session. Okay, so now I can just double click and it'll come back into my EC2. For some people, if they forgot the EC2 user at the front, so let's say I load this, I take off EC2 user at in the front and click on open, it's going to ask you to log in as, so here we would type in EC2 user. Now we're back on my EC2 instance. So if you don't want to have to type that every time, make sure you put that EC2 user at the front of your public DNS. Okay, so I have EC2 user, I can double click and it logs in automatically. Okay, congratulations, you have connected to your EC2 instance via Windows Putty. Like I said earlier, after you've connected to your instance, you can go ahead and follow the regular video series. So go on to video number 3, which is configuring your instance, and go ahead and get the current challenge finished. If you have any questions, let me or the TAs know, or you can also post a comment below, and we'll see you in the next video.